Okay, so in our previous class, we have completed the big topic, reports and dashboards. And I hope you have completed your assignments given the assignment on which we have already done in the class, assignment on joint report, and then play around with reports and then the matrix report. So any questions if you have? All right, so let's go ahead with the next topic, that is security features. See, security features are most important when it comes to Salesforce. So there were multiple topics in security. Yeah, so just an overview, licenses. So again, these topics are interdependent with each other. So I would ask you to be available continuously for the class. If you miss one class, the next class will be blank. Okay, so I would ask you to attend the classes and don't miss anyone out. Okay, so it's just so this is the agenda for next few classes. Security overview, and then the licenses, the type of licenses and overview. And then comes our one important topic, that is profiles. So, so overview of profiles, types of profiles, and how we are going to create profiles. So this is very important topic. And coming to next is the user management. So not only you accessing your Salesforce org, you can create users on your Salesforce app and then give them access. So yes, so we have a couple of topics in it: how to add, modify, edit, reset. So many things: how to freeze, deactivate user, and then create login access policies, audit policies, and create a user login history. So many topics under user management. And then comes our role hierarchy. So how we are going to set up role hierarchies, and then our OWD, organizational wide defaults. So this is also one important question. See, all the security concepts, you will have to be thorough if you are going to face any kind of interviews, because these are the places where the questions can be tricky, and uh, this can, understand your at least functional level skills on the Salesforce. And then the sharing settings, so how we are going to share the records, our personal records, to others. So yes, we have manual sharing and automated sharing. And then how we can create the public groups, automated sharing here, again sharing rules, sharing settings. That's one important question of, and when it comes to interview point of view. And transfer of ownership. And then we will be learning queues, how to create queues. And there is some automation tools like web to lead and web to case, auto response rules, case escalation rules, and then profiles, assigning profiles to users, then login IP ranges, login hours. Then comes one other important topic, that is permission sets and granting access using hierarchies. So these are very good, list of topics, and these are going to be very important topics when it comes to Salesforce. So again, when it comes to any kind of facing any kind of interviews, you will be having these questions. Um, okay, so right. So here is, I just prepared to explain the security concept. We are going to talk about this. So, okay. So in our first classes, we were talking about the servers, right? The servers based on the region. Okay, let's go to our notes. Let me show you. So we were talking about releases and server instances. So yeah, this is the topic. So we were talking about server instances. So based on the account we create or the region of the account we create, so our account is going to sit on any one of these servers based on the geographical region. So let's say the North America has, the servers named like this, and Europe has the servers named like this. So yeah, these are like the server instances where actually our data or our actual Salesforce org is going to sit, right? So here is an example of data, how it is going to reside on our Salesforce servers and how it is going to interact with the database and how it is interacting with the Salesforce servers. Okay. So this is our server instance, any 38, let's say, and we have an organization one, organization two, organization three. So here, as we all know, Salesforce is a multi-tenant architecture. That means on one single server, we have multiple tenants occupied. They were given a certain amount of data storage and file storage based on their um, editions which they purchased, unlimited edition or the professional edition or something like that. So based on that, they are going to be allocated uh, space on the server instances, right? So here, if we see an example, there are three organizations, and so how for say Salesforce is going to store data in the database.com, so on a Salesforce server. So how the data is managed on the Salesforce server? That's how, like, suppose let's say, so for this organization one, they have the account object, and organization two, they also want the account object. So the default Salesforce CRM functionalities, it's same for all the organizations, based on, again, it depends on the governor limits depends on the type of editions they purchase or the type of editions they lease for from Salesforce. But the uh, standard objects, standard fields, standard functionalities from the Salesforce CRM comes along with them, and it's the same for all. So when I say an account object on the database.com, the account object is same for all the organizations. So how Salesforce is going to differentiate organization to organization? It's based on the so whenever we create a Salesforce account, so we are assigned with an organization ID. So that is starting with 0000D, and then followed, it's a 18 digit alphanumeric ID. So it can contain letters and characters. So the organization ID starts with 00D, and then followed by the remaining 15 characters. So based on that organization ID, the database in the data in the database.com, so which account is associated with which organization, so it's going to differentiate based on the organization ID, right? So that's one thing. And so let's go to our org ones. Okay, so let's go to our application, the talent acquisition application. And here, if I go to my accounts, okay, so here it's like when I am creating some new account, so it displays me this page layout, right? So here it's just like we as a Salesforce user, we just uh, so when we click on this new account, so we are displayed with the account layout, page layout. Okay, so we just think from the Salesforce, we are just adding few details out here, the name, account name, and other details here, and then we just submit it, right? So then an account record gets created on our Salesforce org. So this is what we just think of uh, from the user's perspective, user screen perspective. But in the background, what is going to happen when we click on save this particular record, account record? So we are going to discuss that. So let me share. So this is the kind of information which is going to pass through when we click on save on that particular new account record. Okay. So when I say so much of the see, we just think it's just the record getting added from the front end, but in the back end, it's going to store whatever the data is presented in the form, that form data, it is going to take it, and then the requested page URL. So it is going to take our Salesforce org URL, which is consisting of organization ID as well, right? And then the header information, and then OS information, like which operating system we are operating from, and then browser information. So browser information also it takes because uh, see, browser to browser, endpoint indication will be like different. So if you go ahead and use Microsoft Chrome, and if you go ahead and use uh, Mozilla Firefox, so it's completely different. So sometimes it omits a few of the details. So when I say Microsoft Edge is one browser, so it's not going to capture few of the details, right? So that's the reason even the browser information is also going to be sent to the server along with the session ID and then your system address. So yes, here comes our organizational ID and then the user ID. So here in our example, like we were coming to our diagram. So here we have, so first, how we are going to differentiate between different organizations based on the organizational ID. Okay. So, and in that organization, let's say like we have two people, Ramesh, and we have a person called Suresh, two users. So both of them are working for an organization one. So if suppose Ramesh has created an account record, say Ram, and how we are going to make sure that Suresh is not going to, see the records of Ramesh. So Suresh and Ramesh both are working in the same organization, but Salesforce has that security features where it is going to hide uh, Ramesh records to Suresh and Suresh records to Ramesh. So how is it going to do? It's based on the user ID. So it's again user ID is another again 18-digit alphanumeric ID, which is starting with 005. Okay. So as I said, all the records, all the objects and have object IDs, and users have user IDs, and organization has organization ID. So when we say account object IDs will be starting with 001. Okay. So that's when we see the first three digits as 001, it's account object. When we see the first three digits as 005, it's user object. When we see the first three digits as 00D, it's the organization ID. Okay. So how it is going to differentiate based on the user ID information. So in our form data, when we see, it is going to capture even the organization ID as well as the user ID. So we just simply think we just created an account record, but here in each button click. So we are going to interact with the Salesforce server, and this much of information is going to be shared to the Salesforce server based on the state information. So how we going to add the record, update the record, or delete the record? All this information is going to be shared and authenticated on the Salesforce server. Okay, so this much of information is going to be shared to the Salesforce servers when we just create a new account record. So yes, and how Salesforce server is going to differentiate each account. So based on the organization ID and then the user ID. So it will dig into a deeper level of authentication and security when it comes to creating records, sharing the records, and sharing information across the org. So this is how it is going to maintain the information on the Salesforce org. Right. So here, when I say this particular server instance will hold multiple organizations data. So on a single server, it holds more than 8,000 plus organizations data. So whenever we go reach out to Salesforce and say, I wanted to make use of Salesforce CRM or Salesforce services, yes, we will be given an account, and then we will be provided with an organization ID. And so any Salesforce organization is called as salesforce.com organization, or Salesforce, or simply just org, or we can even say it's just a Salesforce account. Okay. So yes, coming to separate. So Salesforce for standard objects, Salesforce is not going to maintain separate object for each organization. It's going to maintain uh, same standard object for all the organizations, but how it is going to differentiate, those are the security features which we are going to talk in detail. Uh, okay. And it's not maintaining separate set of objects for each organization. Yes, it is going to maintain separate set of objects for each organization only when it is custom object. Okay. So suppose, let's say an organization one wants to create a custom object, say candidate. So yes, organization one can create the candidate object, and this candidate object is going to be uniquely stored on the Salesforce servers. Okay, so Yes, it's going to maintain based on the requirement of each organization, but the standard objects, it's going to maintain the same standard objects for all the organizations. So it maintains common set of standard objects for all the organizations. And so if any so in any organization, if people creates a new account record, then it will reside in the same account table as we can see on our database.com table. Okay. So that's where the data is going to get stored. So to differentiate the records between organizations, Salesforce includes a field that is organization ID, which holds again along with the account record ID. So if there are multiple users exist within an organization, then we are going to distinguish them um, the by their user ID. So which is again 18-digit alphanumeric character, which is going to start with 005. And right. So when we so as we discussed, when we submit any kind of record on our Salesforce org, so we are going to actually go through multiple fields and pass these multiple fields of data to the Salesforce servers. Okay, so these multiple fields of data into the we are passing along. I mean, the form information along with that we were passing so much other information, right? So much other information like URL, header information, OS information, browser information. One second. Right. So this much of information: OS, browser, session ID, IP address, organization ID, user ID, and in that again, in particular user, like what kind of permissions is going to have, all those information is going to be authenticated or checked at the Salesforce server. So this much of information we are passing while we are just submitting a small simple uh, Salesforce record. Okay. So let's go ahead and make some notes on our security features. So right. So where do I find my basic information about my organization? You can just go to your Salesforce org, go to the setup, and in the quick find box, you can type company information or company, and then you will be displayed. Right. You can type company. Okay, company information, company settings. You can type company information and then go here and find out all the details related to your Salesforce org. Okay, so here you can see your organization name, and so what's your default address, which country you're residing, and then the licenses information as well. So we will be talking about licenses next. Yeah. And how many were there, how many you utilized, and then permission sets, feature licenses, user-based licenses. So all this information you are going to see on your company information. Okay. And yes, we will be talking more about this page at a later point of time again. So you can click on deactivate org if you are not going to use it anymore. See, server instance, I was telling, right? So this is the server instance where my developer edition account has been residing. Okay. So here you can see the server instance AP16. So I created this account when I was in India. So that's the reason it was allocated in AP16. And here you can see your organization ID. Okay. 00D2W and the alphanumeric character. So it will be unique for everyone. So based on this, again, the standard objects information is going to be stored for each user, even though standard objects are all same for every, I mean, all the organizations on the Salesforce server. Okay. So this is a small view. Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead and make a notes. So yes, security features. So upon creating a Salesforce account, it will reserve some amount of Salesforce server memory or based on the country entered in the registration form. So I was showing you, right? So I created that account when I was in India. So it assigned to the server AP instance server. So okay, Asia Pacific. Okay. And once the Salesforce has been activated, then it's called salesforce.com organization or simply org, or you can call Salesforce account as well. Okay. For each Salesforce organization, it allocates a unique identity that is 00D. I showed you my Salesforce organization ID. And in single Salesforce instance, it will allocate memory for 8,000 plus servers. So yes, I was showing you which server I was in. That was AP16. So in that particular server, AP16, it is going to assign more than 8,000 plus Salesforce organizations. Okay. And each organization in the instance will have access on Salesforce CRM application. Salesforce maintains common set of standard objects, as I was telling you. So it maintains common set of standard objects. So when I say account, common account object is going to be maintained on the database.com on Salesforce servers. But how it is going to differentiate based on the organization ID, based on the user ID, based on the permission levels the particular user is having. And Salesforce is not maintaining separate objects for each organization for standard objects. Okay, that point you will have to note. So it's going to maintain separate object for every organization if there are custom objects which are being created for organization. Okay, so organization wants to create a custom object candidate, and so it's going to be specific for organization one alone. So organization two wants to create a specific subject called programs. So that will be a special object, a custom object which is specific to organization two. Okay. So if any organization people creates a new account record, then it will reside in the same account table. Okay, since it's the standard objects. To differentiate records between organizations, Salesforce includes organization ID in each object. Okay. And which holds organization ID along with the record ID. If multiple users exist in one organization, then we are going to differentiate based on user IDs. So when a user makes a request to the Salesforce server, then along with the request, we are going to send all this information to the Salesforce server. So So we can able to add one or more users in a Salesforce organization, and yeah, all the users, right? So till now we were logging into our Salesforce developer edition, only like we were using it, right? So we can also create users for our Salesforce org, and then we can assign the required level of permissions to that users. We can assign licenses to that users, and then so they can also log into our org and perform some actions. Okay. So for each user, Salesforce allocates a unique identification number, user ID, and which starts with 005. So this is like user object ID. Okay. So it's unique. So within Salesforce, user object ID starts with 005. Within Salesforce, organizational ID, org ID starts with 00D. And within Salesforce, any account object ID starts with 001. So it's unique. You can check all other object IDs, all the standard object IDs, you can check it. Okay. When you have free time on your Salesforce org. Okay. So now comes one more topic, that is licenses. Okay, right. So let's go. So I have, let's take a general example of a small family. So there are four people. So there were father, mother, son, and daughter. Four people are there, and this family has a car. Okay, so let's say a car. I'm sorry, I'm not good in drawing. And this car, all four of them are going to use this car. Okay, so how they are going to use, see, so father is using this car, mother is using this car whenever she wants, and son is using this car, and the daughter is also using this car. All of them were using because they all have the driving licenses, I would say. Okay. So all of them have this driving licenses, and then only they can use the car, right? So in India, it's like that. So we need to have our driving license, and then only we are allowed to use our four-wheeler. So when it comes to say license, so driving licenses, so we have like different types of driving licenses, right? So we have two-wheeler license, we have four-wheeler license, we have international driving license, so which will be accepted in any country. So something like that. So we have different types of licenses, and even though car is one single object, but these four people are using that particular objects by making use of their license. So each one of them are having license, each of them have single license each, and then they are going to use the car object by making use of the license. So that means so we just need to have a license in order to make use of our car, right? So license describes, it means that let's say our Salesforce is a car and we are the user. So to make use of our Salesforce org, we are going to have a license. So license is nothing but it just gives, uh, access to the set of features uh, for us, for a user inside the organization. Okay. So here in our example, if we need to make use of our car, we need to, that's car is our Salesforce org, let's say, we will need to have a license. Okay. So license is just a set of features that gives us access to the Salesforce organization. So so when we are adding Salesforce, when we talk about Salesforce, so again, it's the same concept. So license describes the set of features that can be accessible by a user inside the Salesforce org. And while adding this users to the organization, we need to assign uh, I- each user with a single license. We cannot assign multiple licenses for a single user, or we cannot assign a single license for multiple users. So it's the vice versa, same in the Salesforce org. Okay. And Salesforce, it provides different kinds of licenses. There were around 15, more than 20 different kinds of licenses which we have in Salesforce. So based on the requirement, we would be assigning the licenses within our Salesforce org. Okay. Um, so we were showing our company information, right? So let's go to our org again, right? Okay, here if you see, we have the information on licenses. Salesforce integration, active, total licenses, one, used licenses. So Salesforce is going to give us complete information, like what all licenses we have and how many we have utilized, how many are left, right? So Salesforce license, there are two licenses. I'm using one, and remaining external apps login, we have 20. I haven't used all the 20 are remaining. And Salesforce platform, this is one other important thing. So we have three licenses and we haven't used not even one. So we are left with three again. So these are the different types of licenses. So we have multiple different types of licenses, of which we'll be discussing the top 3 to 4 of them. And you can go ahead and explore the 20 plus different types of licenses which we have in Salesforce. It's just like different the difference between them is to give access to different level of features, and also different modules within the Salesforce, I would say, or different uh, areas within Salesforce. So we have a license called Chatter Free license, so which is used to give access to the Chatter. So similarly, like it's like social media kind of. Uh, so Chatter is a concept like social media where we can participate in the communities, we can comment on whatever we require, or we can ask in the within the community Chatter. We can ask for if at all we have any question, we can ask, and somebody who is expertise in the area can answer, or we can tag somebody. So yes, that's about Chatter license. Or so yes, so Salesforce license is the base important license where we have all the features available within the Salesforce. Yeah. So now I have logged in with it with my Salesforce license. So I have two where I have utilized one, and I can create one more user with the same Salesforce license, and I can give him access. So that's how the Salesforce org gets, that's how the users get access to the Salesforce org. So a user needs to have at least should have, sorry, it's one-to-one association between user and a license. Every user, one license to one user, and one user can have only one license. One license can only be assigned to one user. So it's one-to-one association. Okay. So yes, let's go ahead and yeah. Okay. So let's see where, so we have seen the user licenses, right? So here is our user licenses, and we can also see the most used licenses in a different place, that is system overview. Or let's go and see. So we are on org, right? So you have to go to, Okay. All right. Sorry, I got a call. Okay. So we can also find the licenses information, go to setup, and in this quick find box, type system overview and go to system overview. And here also we can find the licenses related information. See, most used licenses. So Salesforce license, I have two and I used one. And chatter free, I have one I haven't used. Customer community plus, I have, sorry, chatter free, we have 5,000 licenses. Okay. And chatter free licenses, we have 5,000 and customer community plus licenses, we have five. I haven't used. Chatter free, I have used one. Salesforce, I have used one. So here also we can find the license information. And so all these licenses information, it's going to be stored on the object called user license. Okay. So user license is the object which is going to have all the information about user licenses. So user is one other object which is going to have information about all the users, and user license is the object which is going to have all the information about user licenses. Okay. So let's go to, okay, you can take down this little notes on the licenses, right? Okay. Right. So license describes a set of features can be accessible by the user inside the organization. So license is nothing but access given to a set of features. Okay. So while adding a user, we need to have a license. So as I was telling you in our developer org, we were the single and whole and sole user till now. So now what we will be going when we come across the concept of users. So we'll be going and creating another user, and then each user should have license. So we will assign a license, and then we will be creating another user with the same license with same license as ours. So that is Salesforce license. Okay. So we have two. So we can give one more to others. So they can also access completely. So Salesforce provides, so without license, we cannot create a user. So we need to have license, then only we can create a user. Okay. So Salesforce provides below type of licenses, Salesforce license or standard or full license. So here we have for our developer org, we have two. It will grant access on all the functionalities available inside the organization, including standard and custom, all the applications, objects, tabs. So it is kind of a little high level license, I would say. So Salesforce license. So yes, that's the reason we are given one while we create our Salesforce org. Okay. And then comes our platform license. So in for a developer edition, it's three, maximum of three platform licenses can be assigned. It will grant access to all custom functionalities like custom apps, tabs, objects, fields, features, and five standard objects: account, contact, document, task, and event. It won't grant access on other standard objects. Okay. So platform license is basically dealing with force.com, like you can do more of a programming kind of thing. So for programming, for developers, we assign this particular license. If you are a Salesforce admin, you will be giving a platform license for a Salesforce developer. Okay. While creating a user as a Salesforce developer on your Salesforce organization. Okay. So this person will not have uh, what is it? So he will have access to all the custom objects, custom fields, custom functionalities, but the standard objects he has only limited, that is 5 standard objects as mentioned here: account, contact, document, task, and event. Other standard objects he don't have access if who is having the platform license. So when you say campaign object or case object or solution object, so the person who logs in with platform license, he's not going to have access to those objects. Okay. So next is chatter free license. Yes, this is one other type of license. As I said, it's a kind of community chatter post or the feed type of license where we can give access to 5,000 users, but this is rarely used, I would say. But you can have a discussion forum or something like that, making use of the chatter free license. That means this particular the user who is assigned with chatter free license is not going to access our Salesforce org, is just going to access only the chatter part of our Salesforce server. Okay, so he is not going to see our objects in our Salesforce. Community customer community login license. This will grant access to community portals like partner community, customer community. So there were community portals within Salesforce. So for them, this particular license is given. Again, this particular license won't give access to our objects in the Salesforce. Okay. So, and then we just went out through where we can see our Salesforce or user licenses. So go to setup, and company information is one place where you can find the license information and go to setup, and company system overview is the other place. And then we were talking all the user licenses will be reside in an object called user license object, and all the users will be reside in an object called user object. Right. So this is all about yeah, today's class. I know it's all theory class. Yeah. So we will be configuring the licenses, configuring profiles, configuring permission sets. So that will be a practical part. Yeah, little bit of theory and then practical. Yes, we are going to have multiple features and security, and we are going to talk about them in the coming classes. Okay. Yep. That is all for today's class. And thank you so much for joining. Have a good day.
Thank you, Dilip.
Thank you.